Oh my goodness. Absolute chaos reigning on the desk here, and I don't blame them.
A lot going on over there, a lot to take in.
Yeah, anytime you add a pinch of the Washington Justice to predictions, everything is out the window. And I do want to say the desk is looking so fly today. Big shout out.
Yeah,
to
it looks like you dressed them in just,
you know,
button downs with trees and colors. Danny got the short. He just got a sweater with a butterfly on it or something.
Yeah, listen, if you're only going to have one flower on your outfit, make it bloody massive. You know what I mean? Make it gigantic. Big fan of that. Good on you guys, and yeah, good way to sort of bring us into this matchup. I think the more contested game, oddly enough, is that Justice versus Boston Uprising one, but this is a fascinating head-to-head here because the Toronto Defiant weren't without their own mishaps yesterday in their game against the Justice. Matt, we kind of noticed that teams that make it hard for Hisu to play in a safe pocket tend to find some degree of success against the Defiant, but the Justice were either really fast and very coordinated or had neither of those things going on. The Florida Mayhem are almost guaranteed to keep their foot on the gas for the entirety of the series, and the Defiant have to be ready for anything.
I think you just kind of have to throw out a little bit the Defiant performance in that Justice match, just because the Justice were all over the place. Where I think the real story here for Toronto today will be like, you know, what is the play of Hisu, right? How is he able to kind of stack up against Hydron, where we've seen the stats, right? You know, here in the Countdown Cup, Hydron has been dominant on the Sojourn. I think, you know, Hisu kind of tries to match that Mitch. I actually, you know, think that Toronto, you kind of look across the board, right? I think Checkmate Finale is a little bit of a toss-up. I think, you know, Chorong and Twilight, you know, the better of the support duos in the match.
Yeah, I think that's kind of always the biggest boon for the Toronto Defiant that we tend to discuss going into the pre-match, right? Chorong and Twilight, fantastic combination. Twilight is so consistent and so reliable in that backline. Chorong, on the other hand, gets to play hyper-aggressive. Last series, he goes 8-1, final blows to deaths on control. The Toronto Defiant really impressed us there. Toronto have a tendency to be incredibly good defending on a map like Dorado, but it was the pace and the coordination for that time of the Justice that unseated them on a map where they've full held some top teams in the league. So that's something to keep an eye on. Something about the Defiant that always sticks out to me is that when the pace of play gets ratcheted up, they struggle to keep up. Finale was excellent, though, yesterday, Matthew. The Genji, the Tracer, both really shone. You can see why he's the preferred option alongside Hisu instead of someone like Although, who's also been incredible on picks like the Genji in the past.
Yeah, Finale has really kind of hit a stride in this meta and really slotted into the team nicely after we saw a lot of, you know, Although for parts of the season. For me, the series really kind of comes down to, you know, how do they deal with the aggression of the Florida Mayhem? Because if they're not able to deal with that, I imagine you're going to see, you know, Hydron and Checkmate and, you know, someone who's really, you know, high up in some of those final blows and Limbs stat cards we showed earlier today, really because of his Winston play throughout the year.
Right, not many teams are actually playing a pocket Winston. Some teams are maybe using substitute players to have a Winston option, but someone has played more Winston than I would say almost any other tank in the Western region, and like you pointed out, has had fantastic results. It's a look that fits so well with the philosophy of this team, right? You have a pretty aggressive backline, right? Especially when Majid's in there, but even with the RuPaul and Animo look, Animo obviously coming in primarily on that Lucio. Checkmate is an astonishingly talented Genji player, and Hydron is probably one of the most improved hit scan players over the course of this year. People didn't know much about him to start with.
In the season. They took him out at some points in the season. I mean, he looked like, remember back in, you know, I mean, this is like Kickoff Clash, like whatnot, before they got Xe, right? You know, you saw some sick performances from Hydron, the Widow, and the Sojourn and whatnot, and then he kind of like, you know, ends up on the sideline a little bit and comes back now and really just picking up where he left off. And if you're Florida, I think the thing you're kind of telling this team going into this match today is just play with pace, right? You know, keep the tempo and the pace high against this Defiant team and hope they break eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. That seems to be something that the Mayhem are really comfortable playing. And Hydron's the kind of player that is absolutely going to be sliding up in your face as that Sojourn. He is not afraid to get aggressive. His accuracy is frankly frightening. And we know now with that Baptiste-Sojourn combination, you only need to hit body shots on that railgun more often than not to get insta-kills. That's huge. That's a big deal. And teams, both of these teams, to be fair, are very good at leveraging that combination of abilities. Remember, everybody, the gloves are off in this matchup. There is a spot in the playoffs on the line. Neither of these teams gets eliminated, of course, but goodness me, they'd love to be able to just get this game done and not have to play another one to shore up their chances of making those playoffs.
Because although we didn't see a great performance from the Justice yesterday, I mean, it's kind of the story with the Justice. As they come in today, they could play 2 really decent back-to-back matches, find themselves getting in. You don't want that last chance situation to happen with a team like the Uprising or the Justice, 2 teams that would be coming off of a win today, right? Kind of having that confidence, that momentum going into another one.
Florida Mayhem, again, we might see that Winston play from someone. It's a joy to watch. Again, mechanically proficient Winstons are always really exciting to see. And when it comes with a core that is extremely fast, extremely in your face, sparks are bound to fly, ladies and gentlemen. We kick off here on Oasis. It's all on the line for these 2 teams. They want that spot in the playoffs, and no prisoners to be taken, to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about trying to play with pace and aggression, right? Florida coming out here with a Winston-based composition. Tracer, Sombra really putting the pressure on somebody like Isu and Finale here.
That hacked health pack not quite coming up in time for someone. You see it just appears now, but the Mayhem throw themselves at the Toronto Defiant. And Toronto give a good account of themselves, despite that aggression that tends to be the kryptonite at times. They're able to stave off the Florida Mayhem here, and they'll have first cap.
Yeah, and I think what makes it a little bit easier here, if you're the Defiant, to stave this off is having a Baptiste player like Twilight. The immortality field, the healing, the extra damage that Baptiste puts down, just so strong dealing with comps like this.
Checkmate trying to go to work on Twilight, who gets a bubble from Hotbar. Torong looking to stave Checkmate away from the backline, and so he does. Hydron getting Finale quite low. He can't quite get the health pack. It was just behind him. He just pulls up short. Twilight's immortality field is down. Now Hydron knows there's no one to check him as he dives into the backline alongside someone. Hisu gets caught a little bit too far ahead of Hotbar and is also brought down.
Yeah, and I think 3 players there hit with a biotic grenade that came in from RuPaul. So nice take back here from the Florida Mayhem. They want to push up. They want to finish some of these players off. You'll get Hydron. Hydron will get Hoppa and Twilight. So being able to pick up those 2 kills there at the end, you start to build up some of these ultimates. And now you can start to cycle if you're the Florida Mayhem and hold this point.
For RuPaul, if Hydron's able to win those 1v1s against Finale, there's essentially no pressure on him in the backline. And he has a fantastic candidate for the nano boost in someone who'll be able to cycle that quite often into building up more primal rages, causing more disruption for the Defiant, who want to play close together around Twilight as much as possible. Very different dichotomies here for these teams as they try and execute their strategies. Hydron with a dash through Kisu, looking pretty scary in the backline right now. And yep, RuPaul strikes, Finale is down again.
Yeah, and they use an Amp Matrix here in the Immortality field as someone jumps in there with that Nano Boost, and guess what? He just jumps right back out. You use all of those, ultimates and some of them abilities, which feel like ultimates, like the Immortality field. And you have nothing when he comes right back in. Just really good play here from the Florida Mayhem, and that's going to be Hotba with a grab, and oh no, it's a big nothing.
Yeah, Hydron was in there, I think. That's all they're going to get for it. And Anamo's already struck back against Chorong, feeding him a taste of his own medicine there as far as aggressive Lucios are concerned. Hisu absolutely rolled there, got hacked by Checkmate. During that ultimate, shut down entirely, and he'll be up on his feet in no time here. But that's a nasty Bionade to finish him off.
Yeah, 80% in counting though here for the Florida Mayhem. Let's see, you can contest this for a while, right? You got Hydron here, you got your Lucio lingering around, just gonna jump onto the point, contest. Now Hydron will be able to do this again. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get up to, 95, 96% here, no, maybe even higher, because someone's back.
Your ability to follow up on this sleep dart severely compromised based on the game state here. Someone's trying to get away, but Hopper makes sure he cannot escape. 95% though for the Florida Mayhem. And Matt, we got to see RuPaul kind of checking Finale, forcing early recalls just by straight up shooting him with the darts.
Yeah, right? There's Toronto, during this match, they've actually switched their comp. So Hisu now is going to play a Sombra. So you're mirroring in terms of the supports and the DPS. You're just going to be playing that Zarya for a little bit more defense here.
The concern maybe be that the Defiant have a less enticing nano candidate in Hotbar. If he can be avoided and circumvented by someone, it's hard to get the Zarya in position against a mobile composition. Finale backing up. Wants to hold on that recall as long as humanly possible, and he gets the sound barrier. It's go time now. Attempted disengage here for the Mayhem. The pulse doesn't quite hit Animo. He gets nano boosted, and that was actually intentional, potentially. Yeah. Someone may have blocked that line of sight for RuPaul, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. They keep Animo alive here, and they trade Arna's mid-fight.
Is it worth, though? I mean, now you're not going to get a nano for probably the rest of this round. As, yeah, sure, you keep your Lucio alive, and maybe the intent was actually to kind of get it on to someone and let him go in. But, man, I mean, that could be one that you would love to have back here. Imagine having this for someone here as he goes in.
Some big ults coming online for the Defiant as well, Matthew. Graviton, EMP. The Mayhem don't have any great dive targets outside of Twilight. They're trying to make the most of it here. Big sleep, but what a finish on Hydra on Twilight. Knows how to look after himself, Matt.
That is just filthy. I mean, he's just so good. This, the cleanup crew kind of coming in here for Toronto, but no, not a lot of Anas in the league are able to do that with such a casual look on their face like Twilight. He secures that round for the Defiant.
Yeah, that's big. Without Hisu playing a long-range hit scan while Hisu's busy doing his own work in the backline, Florida have to figure out what they do with Hydron and how they get the most value out of him. This is such a Mayhem vibe as well. Interesting to see this map come up here, an opportunity to really mix things up. Here's Twilight in his final moments.
Look at this. I mean, there's a Sombra there shooting him in the back. Use hacks for a period of time. Just so, yeah, as I go through, I'll just sleep and just kill the Tracer myself. Like, don't worry about it. I mean,
Hydron opts to keep fighting even though we got Bio there, so pretty risky.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, they think they have the Ana. I mean, look, if you are there with your Sombra and the Ana is hacked, you feel like there's a really good chance that you guys are able to take that Ana out. They're just not able to get it done. And look at this, the Mayhem switch up their comp. They're going to play with a Reinhardt-based composition here with a May in the mix. So just trying to, like, bait them onto the point and then brawl it out.
The Reinhardt does mean a lot of free charge for Hisu, building up on that rail, and then he can send it somewhere else. Here they come, though. The Mayhem wait till the point is capturable. And then they drop straight on out there. You see Hydron trying to play from behind, but Rupal is caught by Chorong. And someone's trying to wade into this immortality field. Gets the result of removing the Zarya, but now he's stuck in this corner for the time being. And yeah, the Defiant aren't going to let him slip away.
And what do you think about kind of this strategy here from the Florida Mayhem? For me, I really like how Toronto, they're able to just kind of consistently, I think a lot of confidence actually, yeah, that's nice. A lot of confidence gained by Toronto in that, first round of being able to kind of weather the storm against like Florida, one of their best looks, right? I think now coming in and being able to win a fight early on this, like attacking with the May, like is a lot harder than when you already have like control of the point.
Well, your game plan requires Rupal to be standing.
Hoppa is in real trouble.
Yeah, he's actually able to get away, though, somehow. Lovely techers, but he's too low by the time that happens. That's the game plan for the Mayhem, though, Matt. Now we actually get to see them make use of the May wall.
Yeah, so the May wall is there, and Hoppa actually has the immortality field, like, on him.
No.
Boots out of it. So, I mean, that would have been quite scary as Chorong able to make it out with his life. But now you have a Blade in the mix here. Yeah, but... Now, Hoppa, to get out of that May wall, had to go out of the immortality field. If he, he almost would have been better off having Twilight trying to, like, jump over the wall and keep him healed up inside of the immortality field rather than trying to get out on his own.
Again, the game plan for the Mayhem hinges on Rupal being able to heal Finale. Okay, sees the immortality field. Notice also his opponents stepping out of it. Okay, Air Matrix here, but Rupal, oh no! Finale's cut down! The sound barrier makes it so hard for Finale to actually secure a kill there. Florida spend big, in fairness, but keep a couple key ultimates going into the next fight. And Finale's Blade absolutely blunted by the barrier.
And I also think that, like, Finale thought he actually had a kill on a Rupal, but the regen burst of the Batiste as well. Like, being able to, I think there was a health pack there, but then also kind of, like, when you're below that 50% HP mark, right, the regen burst is, like, just a little bit more
100 up front HP.
Yeah.
100 up front, plus the ticking heal.
Which is nuts, right? I mean, he thinks he has some dead rights.
Oh, someone. My God. All right. Having to charge up around the stairway. Tough to find a good shatter here, Matt, and he gets absolutely bloody nothing. Shield's broken, and he'll get caught by Hisu there, who just takes him down with that Air Matrix in play. Nice work by the Defiant to pivot to an aggressive strategy, despite rapidly changing conditions.
And they still have this grab to use, right? You don't get them above 80%, right? So you think maybe it's actually 2 more fights if the point flips. And you have a grab to use here, which, you get good use of this grab. You're looking at like a tie game scenario in terms of percentage.
Probably not too hard to get some value out of it, at least catching the enemy Reinhardt inside
you would think, right?
Yeah, big group up here for the Mayhem.
You can't use it inside of this like little room, right? You need them to come out into space because there's no way you can get in there and put down that damage against like the May and the Rhine.
Yep.
So you
That's
need
exactly
them to
what
either
Hopper's
open up
waiting for.
space or find one on their own.
Oh, the Immortality Field, great positioning. Animo eventually falls, but Hydron's able to trade. The Air Matrix definitely assisting with that, and it's a pretty dangerous spot to be for the Defiant, so Fire Strikes get amped when they come through. So the Defiant disengage because they still have the point here, Matt.
Yeah, and you've had a few kills traded. I mean, there's the equal in percentage off that grab I was talking about, but you still have this control. You have this overclock here from Hisu.
Oh,
You're
no.
in a spot where they can easily, and that's a huge pick. And that's not even with an overclock. You can now come on this flank. I mean, you can seal the deal for the Defiant.
You have no time. You at least have Animo to speed boost you out of there, but Rupal is the centerpiece of this strategy. There's no point playing so close together if you can't be benefiting from Baptiste AoE healing, but they've got to go, and they've got to go now. Onto the point, Chorong already trying to reposition someone away from the rest of his team. Blade for Finale, spends much of it deflecting, and the Mayhem can't get to the point in the end. Twilight lets them know that it was in fact a Charlie Niner. Now Florida Mayhem lose Rupal at the start of that last fight, and they can't get back in.
And when you're not getting a lot from that Reinhardt-based composition, I mean, if you play the game on live, you can tell it's really difficult to kind of get in some of those power spots as Reinhardt without taking big chunks of damage beforehand. They can't come out of that side room to heal, and they can't pick up any kills. And Hisu winning the Battle of the Sojourns there in map number 1, looking really good for Toronto.
Yep, that close together, slower comp from the Mayhem allows Hisu to play safely, and he comes out with 9 final blows for the map. Great start from the Toronto Defiant. They're showing excellent composure in the face of this raw aggression from the Florida Mayhem. Can they maintain that now, or does it get broken down map after map? There's only one way to find out, people, and that's to stay tuned. What a day for the Toronto Defiant to shake off even the merest suggestion of mediocrity, turning up in a big way against a team that a lot of people are afraid to go up against in these play-ins. Already one map on their way to securing a playoffs berth. Squeaky clean gameplay, I've got to say, against the Mayhem's signature Winston dive and then a move over to Reinhardt, which the Defiant seemed to be ready for in that second round.
Yeah, and you know, with not finding success there on that first map, right, Florida will end up getting to pick the second map here. And they'll pick Eichenwalde, which just tells you, Mitch, that they want to try and get some more of those like dives going and put themselves in a better, you know, maybe map advantage position to do that, right? Where, you know, Eichenwalde, you need the, you know, whether it's like Winston, Diva, right, to get that like verticality at the second part of the map. I think a really interesting choice here from the Florida Mayhem. Definitely kind of tips their hand in like exactly what they want to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think it's at this point in the season, with so many games already behind both these teams, probably tough to really take your opponents by outright surprise with all the tape that is there. No better way, though, to try and tilt the odds in your favor by selecting a map on which you've got a tailored strategy for. It is loser pick, of course, in this tournament format.
Right.
It's first to 3 series. So Florida making the most of the opportunity to select the next battleground.
Because it's interesting, right? Like, if you're Toronto on offense, I think we've seen them in the past, like, they would actually kind of just stick with that Zarya-based look. You know, you can't really play the... I mean, you can play the Diva into that, you know, Winston on the other side of things, but there's someone could also come out and play this Zarya, where I think in the first part of the map, I don't think you obviously need that verticality, right? We're trying to hold that choke, kind of playing a little bit of an even matchup.
Put someone on his third different tank hero for this series, bear in mind. Flexing that sort of hero pool depth here. Going to be able to hope to hold out for as long as possible.
Hello.
As they've sort of gone back to a bit more of a standard composition here. The Sojourn Genji looks. And again, their strategy always seems to hinge on keeping Rupal alive and in the center of the action, albeit well protected.
I mean, it's like a little bit of a broken record, but, you know, in the first round, right? You know, what put away that last round on Ilios? It was that Hisu railgun shot that took out Rupal, right? Before that last push could even get going. You know, these Sojourns, when they get charged up, you can one-shot just about anybody out there, it feels like. Where being able to pick off the supports, especially one like Batiste, with these type of compositions, right? Not just providing the most healing, but also like utility, right? With that immortality field, it's just a massive swing in your team's favor.
That's already been deployed here. Twilight had to pop that pretty early because the Defiant take heavy casualties trying to approach the setup for the Mayhem here. Florida really hold their ground and set their feet defensively. Once that Immo is down, the Defiant start to fall like flies.
That's just embarrassing.
Yeah, and that's a really good start here for Florida, right? Kind of building that confidence back up and being able to take that first fight with relative ease. Look at this. I mean, Hydron getting out there, trying to poke a little bit, get some more charge, right? That maybe you think you can, while players are coming on in, you can catch one off guard, not thinking you have a ton of charge. It could be difficult to tell, maybe land a shot, but as we come into the next fight, let's see what Toronto decides to do. It looks like they just want to kind of get Finale in, use the bubbles on him, but that's both bubbles gone already.
Yeah, Holber trying to posture aggressively, but he doesn't really have much left in the tank. And nice double team there on Finale. Hydron catches him airborne with a railgun, and Rupal consistently finishing the job. That immortality field has done its work by now, as only checkmate falls on the side of the Mayhem. They're ready to clap back again.
Yeah, look, I mean, when we're watching it from the kind of the pre-cam, and Hotba uses a bubble in front on Finale, at the same time uses the bubble for Twilight in the back. But still wants to take and like occupy that space. What do you do the next go round, right? The other team, they know they have an advantage that you've used both your Zarya bubbles, right? There's no way to protect the back line and also protect Finale, and what happens? Finale goes in, they don't have anything for him, and he gets taken out.
You can't have it both ways, right? You can't posture aggressively like that without those bubbles in reserve. Oh, it's a scary. That was an amped disruptor shot as well, which will do more than just tickle at this point. Hydron, yeah, going to have to pop the overclock here as space is getting taken away from him pretty quickly. Hotba there standing on the point. The rest of the Mayhem trying to return to their backline. They've lost Hydron though. Graviton Surge, Immortality Field protecting the Toronto Defiant right now, but only until someone gets involved in the fight once more. Now he'll be dueling it out with Hotbar, and that's a fantastic grab in the heat of the fight, but a sound barrier was perfectly timed from Arnamo, and Hotbar can't back away quickly enough.
Yeah, the blade from Checkmate is good, and then that sound barrier keeps everybody alive, as it looks like for now, at least Florida is going to be able to get a hold. There's still some, stragglers here for the Defiant. They're going to have to back up. This next fight's going to be the toughest though, Mitch, right? Toronto's going to have the overclock, and they're going to have their own blade. No support ult on the other side. Now, how do you defend against this if you're the Florida Mayhem? If you can weather this storm, you're in a good spot to get a full ult.
Yeah, you basically have got the round there and then if you hold for this last fight. Not the last, but maybe the last significant one. TC straight away, overclock, pop, checkmate low already, and someone gets missed by that railgun. Finale caught him midair though, he's not able to drop. He falls to someone, but he's at least able to trade. Sojourn is down for the Florida Mayhem, and now they're starting to make it hurt a bit more. Hisu playing inside that immortality field while he can, and checkmate is barely clinging on to life. He's getting healed by Animo though, and they're able to get him back in the fight. This isn't over. RuPaul has an Amp Matrix, but no Sojourn to make use of it here. Another trade, and Twilight is down. The long fight healing is gone, and Checkmate snaps back into action. Hisu falls. Hopper though trying to cap here, and he'll have it.
Yeah, it's not enough for Florida. I mean, it looked like, back and forth, but now once you lose someone, you can't really contest the point at that moment, right? You kind of have to back off of it, unless you believe Checkmate can kind of just, dash through, run crazy. Now this will be the interesting part. Like, how does Toronto kind of navigate this high ground, this natural high ground control that the Florida Mayhem will have at this point in the map?
Yeah, it's a bit uncomfortable, right? Trying to play Zarya from this position without any real mechanism to get her up there outside of going the old-fashioned way. The Mayhem will just take their time and divining an opportunity to drop down en masse. Start the fight heavily in their favor early. Checkmate's blade, key component of that strategy, I have to assume.
He gets a bubble there, allows him to get some energy for someone else to charge up, but Hisu with another opening kill.
That's huge. What a big way to start the fight here. Checkmate knows that his blade likely going to be answered by Chorong's sound barrier, so he has to puzzle his way forward here. And Matrix might buy a little bit of time, but it's time for blades. Checkmate going to pull his out here. The Graviton Surge helping pile these targets together. And there it is, 2 for him. Hopper and Chorong try and fight back inside the grab, but Hopper goes down to his own right click.
Yeah, and Hopper ends up using his grab there, maybe thinking that they're going to be healthy enough with that immortality field and sound barrier to fight it off, but they were all about 50% HP once he decided to use that, where you may have wanted that back for Toronto, because look at this, I mean, you didn't even get any progress of the payload.
Oh, you're on the big boss's wild ride now. Sometimes those grabs are perfect, sometimes they absolutely fizzle. That's the second ineffective grab from Hopper this map. The first one obviously getting shut down by a sound barrier. That one though, perhaps a little more egregious.
Yeah, it's Finale will have that blade, but you got a sound barrier on the other side to counter it. I think Toronto really having difficulties figuring out how you go about getting them off this high ground.
I love this, but there's a sound barrier for Animo. Finale really tried to make the play. They are able to get through it at the very least, and Hisu once more gives that headshot kill on RuPaul. That's a huge way to start the fight, but Checkmate's able to reciprocate. Both teams lacking Baptiste. Cart no longer moving at this stage either.
You have to be careful, though, if you're the Defiant. You're going to get the payload moving after this, but it feels like every time you actually get the payload moving or some success, whether it be, the first map as well, it's based off of these Hisu just, railgun shots that are able to give you a player advantage early on, which you shouldn't have to rely on that when you have big ultimates like a grab or a blade.
Oh, good lord, he's going in! Hydron dives deep in enemy formation, is able to pluck Hisu out of their rank straight away. A headshot there could be pretty crucial. As Twilight and Chorong extremely low. 4 players with a sound barrier though. The cart's not moving. They've walked headlong into a Graviton Surge here. Someone holds him in place once more. Chorong is down, and now that mobility's been compromised for the Defiant, and they're out of time.
Yes, this will be a grab from Hot Button Hydron. 20 HP though. He's so low, getting shot down through an Amp Matrix as well. So it looks like Twilight and Coach trying to get a little bit more payload progress before this one stalls out.
Again, you don't have to blame Hopper for these grabs, but you've got to point out that he's never able to use them in a situation where he can get a clean fight win for his team. Man, it always looks like pure desperation where he hits that Q key, and desperation is not enough to conquer a team like the Mayhem.
And it feels like that the Mayhem on defense, on the defensive side of things, you couldn't really even play what they actually wanted to play, which maybe is more of an aggressive style of play with a Winston Diva. Really would be the Winston for them in the mixed, where now on offense you feel like they can actually do that.
Florida really weathering the storm, playing that high ground, but as you kind of pointed out, Matt, as we got into the second phase of the map, it would be difficult for Hopper to have idealized circumstances in which to engage, especially with that Graviton Surge, right? It always feels like they're fighting tooth and nail to get into the castle. But so many of these fights come with Hisu already finding an early pick on someone like Rupal, which on Oasis, especially University, was such a big part of their win condition. Here, it doesn't seem to be enough. The Mayhem always have other tricks up their sleeve. That is, I mean, look, if you're Toronto, you don't feel good about how you've looked on this map so far. You've not pushed the car far enough to give you any degree of confidence about this defense. You've got to be centimeter perfect now on this hole.
Yeah, you have to be just as perfect as you can be here. I know on this hole. Let's see this from the high ground. So this is actually where Hoppa gets his. Look how low everybody is when they use it. I mean, everybody's basically dead when the grab comes through.
When you oh, Finale. You can't tell me that, you know, being forced to use grab in a situation where your team are in one and getting played at the same time is kind of the perfect situation for it. It always seems to be so reactive from Hotbar. Maybe being proactive now to start the fight off with the first grab could be a big difference maker here on defense. Let's see if the Defiant have the space to enact that kind of approach.
You see, they don't even want to play that Winston-based composition as we thought possibly. You know, when you pick a map like this to get that high ground is, oh, actually, Twilight opened things up for the kill here on a Chipping. That's the Immortality field out already, and now you see the Toronto Defiant pushing forward, the cleanup crew coming in.
Hydron must have rolled in some lard at the start of this round. So slippery, hard to catch, but eventually the Defiant can pin him down. Twilight's opener. Definitely a big way to start the fight.
It's a good early start here for the Defiant. You know, can you keep it going, right? I think, look, this point A is pretty difficult to take at times. You get through the grab and the blade, right? And you think, you know, if Hisu keeps playing the way he does, there's a real chance you could get a full hold.
Finale got bubbled there as he dove in. The Mayhem tried to turn on him, but he still gets away.
Disruptor shot.
Hydron, though, finds a shot across the map. Just a clean pick to start this off. Checkmate is deep behind enemy lines, and he strikes gold in a big way. The Defiant are done here. There's not much they can do on this hold. I think they'll try and maybe taxi people out, maybe make a late push for it, but it's chalked.
Yes, that's a fast push there from the Florida Mayhem. Able to take that first point. No ultimates even needed to make that happen. So, talked about Defiant having to get off to a really good start. That is not it.
All right, 4:50 on the clock. The situation that the Defiant were hoping to avoid has come to pass. With the Mayhem coming into this next phase with a lot of time to work with.
You are completely healed.
Again, definitely rely on Twilight here to have a well-placed amp matrix. Checkmate goes up as the way was made clear for him by that disruptor shot. Now Immortality field is down. Twilight still hoping to play somewhat aggressively here, and yeah, the rest of his team also following suit. Chorong, okay. Nice looks getting rid of Rupal.
They have to play close. You can kind of see where that tick of golden box of victory is at the top of the screen. Like from where they're playing now, you have what, 2 fights, maybe 3. If you can, get a breakthrough here through the Florida Mayhem. So if you're the Defiant, you got to consider just continuously playing close here at the gate.
Same question here we levied at the Defiant for the Mayhem. How do you get this Xayah in position? Hopper actually electing to drop fairly early there, as someone is threatening cart progress on this corner. Oh, there it is. That's perfect. Chorong absolutely blown to smithereens. He had a sound barrier. Now there's nothing to stop the blade. The Checkmate doesn't opt to pull it. In fact, Hopper picks him off. Hydron still had the perfect opener, though. Graviton Surge comes out, but the sound barrier is going to be there for Animo. And yep, everything that the Mayhem need outside that blade is at their disposal. And they're not afraid to make use of it. Late sound barrier here for the Defiant just to try and hold on, but the Mayhem can sort of split here, allow this to expire, and then renew their assault once more in that cart's position. Finale's forced away. He can't touch. Chorong not able to drop in time, and the Florida Mayhem take a convincing W on Eichenwalde.
Yeah, you can see, I mean, it's their map pick, but they looked flawless there for the most part. On Eichenwalde is someone able to get good use of his grabs. And then at the end, you had this sound barrier for the Defiant, but nobody there to be able to contest.
Someone dies once for this entire map. Now, if he's playing D.Va, that's maybe less surprising, but 8 final blows and 1 death for him on the Xayah. Ridiculous damage output in general. Someone showing us it's not just the Winston that he can really turn up in a big way on. Great Xayah play, and the Mayhem make that one look pretty easy comparatively. Starting stuff from both Sojourns. Hisu a little quieter by comparison. to Hydron, always opening up these first picks. And a good recovery for the Florida Mayhem now. So we have a tied series heading into the map 2 break.
Think I'd ever let you down?
Florida Mayhem are showing us a multitude of different looks, and someone is helming all of them. This guy can do anything.
What? Someone already... Sorry? Excuse me? That's not allowed. Is he in a luge? What is this? Cool runnings? Sorry? Someone just slurped up proper on the way through. There's like someone just bolted a bloody hyper-powered Dyson to the front of him as he charges through the middle of the map. I mean, someone has to yeet the spaghetti. Someone was just able to follow him up, clean him up indeed. Someone going to flat Yurio here, and Dallas Fuel get absolutely goober stomped in this first fight. Someone trying to clear a few mines. He's very, very low, but he catches Violet still somehow.
When it comes to rookies, I think someone is someone that we're really going to have to start heavily considering as one of the best.
Oh man, don't let this guy's happy-go-lucky attitude fool you. When it's game time, the gloves are off. And in a big way, his Zarya is a difference maker on Eichenwalde. we said, okay, the Mayhem, look, it's probably going to be a little bit hard for you guys to progress through the second phase of the map, given that high ground disadvantage you have to play from. Someone said, yeah, hold my charged particle cannon. Check this out.
Yeah, he plays really well there on Eichenwalde as really it was just really clean from the Florida Mayhem, which is kind of what I expected from them in our first map, but Toronto was able to just kind of like squeak it out. As we go into the next map, I believe it is Circuit Royale, which is what the Toronto Defiant choose. You know, interesting that maybe, look, I think Zarya is obviously the strongest tank right now, but still a lot of opportunity to play some other stuff, especially on a map like Circuit. Like, do you end up playing some type of like Sigma-based stuff and with Hoppa and really trying to, you know, pressure down the Florida Mayhem into something different?
Yeah, maybe, again, continuing to stretch someone's hero pool, maybe some form of answer. But, you know, we see a lot of teams that want to opt into what we consider like a very standard Sigma poke composition on this map. Plenty of teams are also, you know, moving away from that and continuing to force Zarya, Baptiste, Lucio-based compositions. So there's definitely no one defined way to play this map. And even if the Mayhem had to play that way, you have Hydron who can play the Sojourn. Also, his Widowmaker, absolutely bloody terrifying. This is the team that, during their kickoff clash, were trying to force Gibraltar as often as possible, just so they could put Hydron where he was most effective. And even teams like, you know, the Atlanta Reign, with someone like Kai on the bench and on the field in that case, had to respect them.
Yeah, so look, you can play Hydron on those long-range hit scans on maps like this. You feel pretty good about your chances able to win, but Toronto seem to feel really strong about this map in their selection of it. So, see kind of Isu now play some of the piano. I think both teams end up at the end of the day probably coming out on Zarya comps. Like Zarya just like, so you can make a case like D.Va is as strong, right? But just the fact that like the Zarya is so strong against the D.Va that you're almost kind of defaulted to just playing Zarya here.
I think you have to be a pretty masterful D.Va player to have any game in that kind of matchup, right? Just because of your fundamental weaknesses in that head-to-head. Hydron here, hoping to clear Finale off the card here, and ooh, this is the 1v1 Finale has to opt out of. He heads for the hills with that Swift Strike, and he won't be allowed to get that health back. Hydron gonna have to get up pretty early in the morning to pull the wool over this man's eyes.
Yeah, as far forward defense is been kind of the thing you've done here for ages on Circuit. Not an awesome start here.
Good body blocking, man.
Yeah, not an awesome start here for the Defiant, but looks like they have to back up just a little bit here.
All right. Florida do give some ground, right, because they lose a couple players. Still being able to, you know, melt a minute off the clock. Pretty desirable outcome for the Mayhem. Finale again has to probe. He has to be careful because so far Hydron's had his number, and then he just, I mean, speaking of numbers, Choron's, I mean, 911, that's the number out here, right? Yeah, he's dialing that at light speed, trying to get himself out of that situation. Checkmate removes Hisu, and another Florida Mayhem hold.
Hello.
As this stuff starts to get really dangerous, man, on a map like this, right? You have to start dumping in some of these ultimates really early to get around this corner. It's a really tough spot to be in if you're the Defiant, because you can't afford to kind of, you know, blow everything there, because you're going up towards like the harder part of the map, right? Where the opposing team has all that high ground, that verticality. Is crazy.
Really checkmate. Okay. Putting a couple gouges on the spawn door there as his blade gets pulled out. And Matrix there as well from the Mayhem to scare the Defiant back inside their hidey hole. Seen a few teams, you know, use this strategy before. Not often do they pull it off for 2 minutes and counting. Here come the Defiant with an Ant Matrix of their own here. Someone gets grabbed out in front of him, but look who's getting into the back line already. Checkmate's trying to make this hard, but that immortality field will let the Florida Mayhem only survive a couple seconds more.
It just feels so bad. I mean, Hydron getting some kills here at the end, but it just has to feel terrible. Like, look at where the card is. I mean, this is like just basically where it starts off. I mean, both teams, you know, able to hold on to their sound barriers to get through it. I mean, this next fight, though, you consider a must-win for the Defiant at this stage of the game, right? You're going to have like a minute 20 or so on the clock, right? You lose that fight, we're coming back off spawn, you're looking at like 45 seconds to go. You're in a really tough spot.
Sound barrier plus blade Finale. He really wants to go in. These ultimates just have to be used here. by the Defiant. A little earlier than they would have liked considering where the card is, but they've got to take their chances. Anamo's sound barrier helps them stay alive with 4, but he himself might get caught a little bit too close. And yeah, Chorong's able to nip that one in the bud. That cart will still be able to move it. There's another chance for the Mayhem to get involved here, and Hydron always seems to be finding at least an exit pick.
They're trying to just, I was going to say, they're trying to just dump everything here into someone to keep him alive. The Immortality Pill, I think, was probably off a cooldown because Rupel throws it at checkmate there right at the end where, you know, if they had it, maybe they're able to kind of keep someone alive. You can maybe keep that going, but point A finally taken here by the Defiant.
3 minutes and 5 now. That's what they got to work with for this very precipitous climb towards that second checkpoint. And they're going to have to do it headlong into the immortality, the amplification matrix rather. Never mind. Hisu has simplified the calculus substantially with that pick.
Papa just gaining a charge, able to push up. You know, now you get that pick. Just forces the Florida Mayhem just further back. Is this one of the maps, man? It's like the most punishing with these early pickoffs because, like, you know, now where the Florida Mayhem could have like pushed up and had this sick high ground advantage, it's all completely lost.
That is absurd. What a high value pick and a perfect immortality. Look at the immortality field. It's just bloody perfect. Nobody on the Defiant side can move up to pick that off because they lose their frontliner instantly. Hydron is consistently foiling the dastardly plans of the Defiant. Every time they try and make the play, this guy's shutting them down. What a beast. What a machine.
I mean, so good on the Sojourn, right? To be able to just come around the corner, get those 2 picks, no overclock during all of that, right? So just kind of able to do some damage, hit the shot, do some damage, hit the shot. And it gives them the ability to kind of have this high ground control again. I was talking about that's so difficult to make this trek up and out through this open space.
The guy has 68% charge shot accuracy, Matthew. This effectiveness, that's a big part of it. All of his kills coming as a result of charge shots being involved at some point or another. We've got another one ready to go. Hotbar caught inside the grab. Immortality Kill needs to be the first down. Hydron happy to farm a little bit of the Hotbar health and then finish the game off there. This is brutal stuff. The Defiant getting absolutely bent into a pretzel.
Well, and that's why I was saying it was so important for the Florida Mayhem to win one of those fights, right? You kind of have this large open space that you have to cross, and you're not playing like any type of shield or like, you know, a tank that could prevent any of that damage. And you're allowing somebody like Hydron, who's sick on the Sojourn, and even, you know, Rupel to just farm damage for these players just coming up.
All right, we're running out of time rapidly. Hisu, Hydron, both with the overclocks. Someone able to finish off Finale. So no pressure on Hydron outside of Hisu's presence across the map. And he makes good on that. Big elimination, but isn't enough to really be going on with. Is someone is well charged up. There's still checkmate played. Animo beat. There's so much on the table here. Here goes checkmate. Zayba with a start with, but he gets out instantly as a beat gets dropped.
Yeah, it's going to be the Amp Matrix, so used aggressively here by the Defiant, and it's going to be a sound barrier to try and push through this here for the Florida Mayhem. And oh, beautiful blade shut down.
Chorong's beat. I don't know if I even saw that come down, and if it did, it was removed almost instantly. Hard to say, but Toronto don't get much value out of that outside of letting him continue to play. Hopper's done here. Surely Twilight actually able to heal him up from the backside there. Someone wants to delve a little deeper. He's basically spelunking in the backline right now. With Hopper out of the picture, there's no durability left here. Twilight can only hold off for so long, and someone will not be denied.
Once they got that one hold here, is, you know, the defense on circuit, it was very difficult to make it up, you know, around the corner and, you know, get back towards that payload without kind of dumping in some of these ultimates early. And Florida Mayhem finally get a hold.
Something sussy happened with that tweet from Chorong. I'm certain of it. Seemed like the timing that it came down with, not enough there for the Defiant to work with. Beautiful stuff from Florida, really. Again, we highlighted Hydron early in the round. He's 10 final blows for 3 deaths right now. Someone is 11-2. So again, he's just, he's absolutely beaming right now as the Toronto Defiant aren't able to put too much together. Finale having a very, very quiet round. Only 1 final blow for a total of 8 deaths.
And if you're Toronto, if you don't get, like, I think you really start to worry if you're Toronto if you don't get a good hold or 2 at the spawn door, right? Or like even if you play at that first corner, let's say you play at that position, right? You don't get a good hold there. You're just going to leave the Florida Mayhem with a ton of time to make that trek up towards that high ground.
Similar situation to what we saw in Eichenwalde. The Florida Mayhem can bust through early on here. It's going to be really hard to stop them. Eventually, just the sheer weight of ultimates is going to turn this in their favor. Here's Hydra.
These are the Hydra shots.
This is the grab on someone.
So it's the Am Matrix he's able to shoot.
And you just
Yeah,
can't
so
do anything
actually
about
trying
someone.
to, yeah, and Hisu's actually just trying to farm up those shots of his own and land that onto someone. But the Immortality field right around the corner, which is what ends up saving someone, and then also allows Hydra to turn the corner and get that pick.
RuPaul is taunting the Defiant, saying, come on, why don't you try and camp us and spawn? Toronto are a little bit more measured of a team. We kind of know that about them already. They opt to play a little further back here. Will that prove to be their undoing? Hydron, a lot of pressure on Chorong, and he actually positioned himself away from the mega health pack. He doesn't realize, I think, that Checkmate is waiting for his chance to strike. That is such a backbreaker already.
Yes, that's going to be Florida just getting the payload going basically instantly, and that is the last thing you wanted to see if you're the Defiant.
Hydron, they're getting all the final blows. 13 and 3 right now. That's as many final blows as the entirety of the Defiant have as a unit.
So, bubble use here on Finale. Gets right in, tries to, close that gap, but lots of damage taken by Hoppa. Basically, has 50% HP, and they got to use the Immortality field. This is really bad for the Defiant. Look how low the health bars are.
Hydron tried to 1v1 Finale though and just comes off second best there. So
hold on.
That bubble on Finale, Matt, lets him get nestled into a flanking position behind the Mayhem setup. And Hydra may be biting up a little bit more than he can chew there.
Efficient design at work.
Oh man, that is really good support work there from the Defiant. I mean, they get 3 players that were like below 50% HP. They were pushing into that close quarter area, and they're able to all live. And look at this, I think they catch Florida off guard a little bit. Hydron and Checkmate just kind of hanging out outside the spawn. They don't expect the Defiant to push right up to the door yet again, and they do, and they get those 2 picks. Well,
RuPaul, you got what you asked for. Maybe not at the same timing, but here come the Defiant now, trying to make this spawn camp happen. The grab's going to help this immensely. Sound barrier for the use it. All of a sudden, the tide starting to turn against them. It has to be a sound barrier from the Defiant, something they probably rather would not have used. Hydron again gets a better piece here. Unfortunately, it doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of that fight.
Hey, look, I mean, Florida said come to the spawn door, and they have, and it has not been good this second go-around. So Toronto, though, you lose a few players, you have to back up, so going to give up a little bit of space here, and you do not have anything for this B to grab that's going to come through. So maybe a little bit too much here if you're the Defiant, but you started to get the clock to about even to where you were, right? So you're not going to give the Florida Mayhem a ton of time on their offense.
Banana Blade. Graviton Surge here. Chorong and Hydron the first casualties in this fight, but Checkmate's able to pick Finale off as he tries to descend and get some value from the Dragon Blade. Wodba, no bubbles left here. He has to turn tail and run as Checkmate now is hungry. He's out for blood.
So now you'll get the part moving where you're gonna probably get this first checkpoint off of this. And then the Defiant can play that high ground. I mean, this is about the same time, right, Mitch, that we saw Toronto able to take this first checkpoint. So able to hold on. It's actually, they sent Finale down to get a touch. Is he able to contest this long enough to where other players are going to come down?
I mean, it's such a hard fight to win. You're pushing into an open sideline. The Hydron's already set up and has overclock.
And that was
hard to make that work.
Maybe, yeah, there's maybe 3-4 seconds there, kind of of stall by the Defiant, but not a lot. And now you give yourself a disadvantage in terms of the spawn, right? Where, Florida can push all the way up here. They can start moving that cart. Where, now, it almost would have been the safer play, I think, to maybe just stay on that high ground there, give up that, and then trying to put some damage down from above.
Yeah, you might be right. Using more than they maybe would have liked to there. Again, the Defiant want to go forward here. Now they're disengaged. And matrices for both teams are going to be a factor in this next fight. Here they go, both come. Look out, these charge rails. Very scary stuff with the Graviton Surge thrown in there. Impossible for Florida to win a fight like that. Animo only really getting a sound barrier towards the end there, so that's something at least the Mayhem can maintain into the next engagement.
Yes, see how Florida decides to play. I mean, look, you know that they're probably not close to a blade, that Finale hasn't done much, right? Could you use the sound barrier, like, offensively, right? You know, you get to this corner, you speed, you use the beat, you kind of, like, push deep into them. There's no, like, immortality field on the other side. There's no beat and response, so you feel like you're pretty safe to do so. And you're so close to completing the match.
Well, you need to get rid of that immortality field quickly, otherwise that sound barrier doesn't mean much. So here they're going to try and do just that, Matt.
Yeah,
a dry fight with the sound barrier, but it's enough time for Trong to get one of his own. So now what? You trade those ultimates. Someone, though, has a craft. This will be unanswered by a sound barrier if he can get it off. Finale's down. Good start to the fight here. No immortality fields in play. If you're going to grab it, you think it's now, but Hisu shuts Hydron down.
Save it.
No,
But
you know.
they end up using it.
Yep, he's going for it, and so far, so good. The Mayhem able to hold onto that craft into the late fight. There's no beat to answer it. Hisu's on an island here, screaming Wilson as he is forced to give up the ghost.
Yeah, it looks like it was just checkmate someone and Animo there, but you're still able to get a good use of the grab. Checkmate with the blade, finishes players off. And that'll be Florida getting the card over the line. Yeah, I mean, it looked like for a second there, you were kind of like, even you're around the corner, maybe not the best use of that grab. But Florida had some players coming, you know, off the spawn as reinforcements, and someone healthy and charged enough to pick up some kills.
Yeah, interesting, Matt, that they start a fight with a sound barrier, right? The Mayhem, just see what they can get. They managed to fish for another sound barrier on the other side, which means the way is clear for that grab, even in a fight where you've lost 2 players. Great way to turn the fight around. I'm impressed by the flexibility we're seeing from the Defiant. They're starting to take the pace of the game into their own hands. Can they carry that into the next map? They have to if they want to have a chance at playoffs. Stick around, everybody. Map 4 is rapidly approaching. celebrate the finale of the 5th season, everybody. Join us at the Overwatch League Grand Finals and see your favorite teams and players compete live. Tickets are on sale now for November 3rd and 4th. This is an event not to be missed. Our triumphant return to an arena environment for Grand Finals. That's the kind of magic that really takes the Overwatch Esports experience to the next level. Don't miss out. I'm going to be there. Matt might be there. Depends if I can get replaced by then. We'll see.
I'll be there.
Oh, okay. Well, Matt will be there. And, of course, the whole crew. So, really a great chance to get to see how it all works for a live event, the Overwatch League. They are, for me, the pinnacle of the esports experience and something I'm always excited to be a part of. And Matt will be there too, so,
Yeah, it'll be dope. Nah, it's hey, look, it's always better when you got the energy of the crowd and the fans and whatnot in the building. Which, yeah, maybe these teams end up, there at the end, right? I think with the long week and a new patch and whatnot, who knows really what we're gonna be in for that week.
Oh, it's going to be wild, actually. Yeah, we're going to be scrabbling to sort of keep up with how developments and how metas change as well. I get asked a lot, Matt, if we expect to see, Kiriko make her mark on the metagame, and people are pretty split on it so far. There are a lot of teams are still, practicing on this patch as they need to get through play-ins, and I think that obviously her mobility and that little immortality from the Suzu is pretty powerful, but whether she's a staple, whether she's relied on or a pocket pick remains to be seen. I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, I mean, look, her ult is extremely strong, right?
Have you ever tried trying to shoot? If you're playing Cassidy, for example, or a hit scan, trying to shoot people inside Kiriko ult,
I tell you what,
it's impossible. They strafe at light speed.
Try and play Baptiste and shoot inside of it. It's really, it throws the bursts, everything off. It's really odd. But look, I think the one thing you can say about her is she probably does better than just about almost any other support. Maybe probably Bap, probably a bit better. Is that she just lives forever, right? I mean, it's kind of stupid to say it's a huge thing, but just being able to live is a huge asset. Where I think Kiriko Baptiste could be pretty strong.
Now Hydron not living forever, but he's here for a good time, not a long time. 15 final blows in Circuit Royale, 9 deaths again. It got a little bit more grindy towards that second round, but again, really impressive, consistent output from Hydron. He and Hisu really battling for supremacy on the periphery of most of these engagements. And again, that 64% charge shot accuracy, more often than not, even if he's not finishing off a kill, he's setting one up for something like Checkmate just to swoop in and steal the glory with a swift strike. This team really well coordinated. Looked a bit scary for a moment there, though, on Circuit Royale, as the Defiant actually went to spawn camp them. I love seeing the Defiant ratchet up the pace a little bit, right? Now we know they can do it. The question is, can they play like that confidently with that level of coordination for long enough to really put the Florida Mayhem under pressure in this next map?
And I think out of the 4 teams right here in the play-in, I think we got the right 2 teams here in this, win and get in type of scenario, where I know these 2 teams have proven to be the strongest out of the 4. Now, as we go into Colosseo, just one more game here for the Florida Mayhem to just stamp their spot inside of playoffs.
Again, this team, from the very start of the season, felt like a Moneyball approach. Whenever you put Gunba in the coaching seat, give him an opportunity to scout players, you're going to get an interesting result. The guy's really data-driven. I think he's data science, computer science is his background. And he actually creates tools and, to actually assess players and sort of get an understanding of who's out there on the market and how to build a team. You've got to say, it's pretty impressive what he's been able to do with this Florida Mayhem lineup, right? A lot of players coming out of regions that are really, underexposed globally, like Saudi Arabia, for example, and obviously picking up some really great rookie talent, creating a team that is just continuing to get better and better, and they're starting to peak at the right time, or at least you hope so. These guys are a real dark horse, the kind of team that can snatch wins against top teams sort of any given day, and we've seen that in the last couple of weeks from them as well.
And you've seen teams like Florida and teams like London, I think, play really strong throughout the year with, if you're London, right, bringing back, making some adjustments on the roster from last year, but bringing back a lot of the same crew, and then Florida bringing in an entirely new roster, so to speak. And I thought one of the funniest things from yesterday was when Custo was like, oh yeah, Checkmate for most improved, and Johnny's like, well, yeah, now he's obviously not playing tank. Obviously he's improved. He's not a DPS player playing tank.
I know his Reinhardt. I mean, he absolutely gats Mag in the Reinhardt head-to-head on occasion. So the guy, his Orisa play was interesting as well. But Yes, that is a thing of the past now, and for Checkmate, probably hoping we don't keep bringing it up.
I think
What's going on here?
this looks like we're going to get one of those kind of
The shock justice.
stall here, in the middle of the map, as both teams just try and poke away and poke away, and nobody wants to kind of run down this long haul. Nobody wants to give up that first pick to the Sojourners.
I'm disappointed someone didn't look at Lionheart on this map and go again. Like we've seen him in the
Because it worked
past.
so good on the first map.
It was hilarious though. I mean, remember, I've seen clips from him on this map where he just goes wild. He's there, straight into Hydron's crosshairs a little too long. And he gets absolutely rolled.
Now it'll look like that Florida Mayhem
so
will get it
clever.
going.
He's so smart! Oh, he throws down that disruptor shot, Matt, just as he realizes Chorong is drawing a bead on him.
Yeah, and we kind of see that pretty often, I think, from Sojourns, where you use a disruptor shot when like a Genji or a Tracer comes in, almost like at your feet, right? It slows them down. It does like annoying ticking damage. A few shots and like a properly charged rail probably finishes that player off at that time. Really good use of the disruptor shot there. And, not even much gain there by the Florida Mayhem, right? I mean, what, 15 meters is like almost nothing. It's like not even all the way down the hallway. And Hydron's getting ready for this overclock.
Yeah, again, wants to try and police this off angle as much as he can. So the Finale just can't close the gap with Chorong as well without him realizing what's going on. That's 2 bubbles used for Hopper right now, and a sound barrier means that the Zaya could be in danger. Yeah, they've got to turn a look at Hopper, and I think that's an easy pick. So it is.
Yeah. I mean, you can see the entire team move backwards, and Hopper just caught on that opposite side. And it looked funny there. The Florida Mayhem, they were like kind of going to go right towards the rest of the team, and they turned. They're like, wait, Hopper's here alone. They decided to finish him off.
Hydron really taking a risk there. Diving out into the open with a Amp Matrix in play. That's a nice headshot there, but the sound barrier will deny any elimination as a result of that. Oh my god, Hydron Finale can catch a horde of flies in his mouth. He's so shocked. Not over the moon about that.
No, not at all. As Defiant will finally get the bot moving, and the good thing for the Defiant here is like it's not a significant amount of progress gained by the Florida Mayhem, right? They end up having to use your beat, but Amp Matrix bot, you have your own blade, which maybe that can open things up. But nobody wants to push into this high ground when you have the Sojourns on both sides.
Yeah, it's just so punishing. We saw Hydron try and navigate that situation right from his POV in that previous fight. And especially with Amp Matrix in play, it's so scary. Grab this! Okay, gonna be Hopper caught in that one. Any bubbles, sir? Okay, Immortality Field is enough. Healing there from obviously his teammate. Twilight able to use that regen burst to keep him up. Graviton Surge, that's a good one. Very good one from Hopper.
Yeah, you don't have to push into that high ground, right, to be able to take this point. You can now push right past that high ground. Kind of try and take it a little bit for yourself. As now you're in the driver's seat here. If you're the Defiant, then you're going to get close to that Amp Matrix. You can also decide not to fight this here, right? If you don't have a pick with Isu, you can like back off and go back into the tunnel.
How does Hopper die there? Amp Matrix perhaps? Rupal just absolutely rolls him. Still the Defiant able to get a decent lead as they are lucky enough to try and push into this low ground disadvantage. So they get some extra progress here. The Mayhem are going to have to claw that back now. This next fight is an interesting one. We're really out of phase in some of these ultimates, right? Crucially, the Dragon Blade and Sound Barrier. That's what the Florida Mayhem have available to them here. And no answering beat for Chorong could be deadly.
Yeah, it's now we push. Checkmate, trying to find this spot. Ooh, it's in a really dangerous position here as gets a Zarya bubble. Should be able to get out with his life. Nope. What? Did Hydron actually kind of shoot him through that hallway, or maybe on the opposite side, coming out that top doorway? Was able to find that shot. It's an Amp Matrix here. It's just going to deter Florida from pushing up.
Okay, this spot's getting close, real close. The Defiant down a player. Maybe enough time for Chorong to get that sound barrier online, but he has to get to work. That's going to be too late. Now the Mayhem get into the lead here. Chorong still no beat. Mayhem have one though as well, and those support ultimates not quite being in time definitely hurts Toronto. They give up the lead now.
And once these fights start to kick off, you can see like just how split the Defiants get at times, right? Checkmate and crew, they go in there and they see like Hop off to the side, a few players off to the other side. Like they're able to just, run down players, 3-on-1, 3-on-2, and use these advantages to perfection.
Checkpoint here
This
for
ends
Mayhem.
now.
That's huge. Hydron trying to make this a little bit worse here, but Hopper singled him out there. Finale able to finish the job, but Hopper's very well charged. A little bit of extra bot progress here as that fight breaks down a little bit. So Mayhem probably not too disappointed with that, getting the checkpoint now as we're over halfway through.
They get the checkpoint first, which I feel like is a huge deal, right? You're going to have the bot go really fast back towards that part of the map. You should be able to get, you know, close to like 90 meters almost, probably the next time you actually get control of it. Or now this fight, I mean, what? Toronto's going to have to win 2-3 fights from here on out to match your progress, pretty much.
Interesting that they used a beat as well, Toronto, in that previous fight.
It was a must-win. I mean, you can't let the bot get to like 100 meters and you're at like 40, right? To try to make that up.
And you had no longer had the height advantage, right? The right. Pushed so far. All right, catch Hotbar in the bubble. That seems to be the order of the day, and it works out again. Finale, though, got his own macabre business to attend to in the Mayhem's backline. Hydron able to finish him off, though.
Because you also give up that space that like we were just talking about, and you no longer are the team that can dictate where these fights take place, right? That's so much on Colosseo, like compared to, New Queen Street or, we haven't seen it in like in pro play yet, but like Esperanza, like, this map is so important to dictate where these fights take place, right? You know, not being able to, not wanting to, or being forced to run into some of these high ground fights.
Florida really not incentivized to try and push their luck there. There was a fight where they don't come out with, clean 5 players remaining. And they had to play into a bit of a low ground advantage for a time. Just not a clean enough win for them to really start to push back into uncharted territory once more. There's one bubble forced out by Hotbar. He is charged up indeed. The Mayhem now, I wonder how they try and find a win here, because it's a dry fight for them. They're dealing with the Graviton Surge. They have to attract this ult from Hotbar.
Yeah, I think and you gotta just get this grab out early, right? You get it out early. I mean, that's an amp matrix used there. You lose someone that may like allow them to actually just keep on pushing forward without having to use it. I was gonna say, you want them to get this grab out now, right? So they can use it to get the bot over that line where you get towards that checkpoint.
And you see the Mayhem are just filtering in here, just trying to slow up the bot, maybe buy a bit of time for someone to get back here. They are just dying on cart, but the Defiant can take a Graviton Surge into this disadvantageous position and try and get themselves a checkpoint. That would really close the gap in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, now you're getting into dangerous territory, I think, if you're the Florida Mayhem, because you're not forcing them to use tons of big game-changing ultimates, and you're allowing them to move the bot for free. That'll be sound barrier here, the late sound barrier here from Chorong.
Chorong maybe had a specific reason somebody wanted to keep alive there. Animo goes to try and stall the bot for a time. Blade here, no sound barrier. Answer it, there's checkmate for 3! Oh my gosh! Gets rid of that immortality field first and lays waste to both supports plus Hotbar. The perfect 3-piece. And again, the Defiant are denied the checkpoint.
Oh, they get so close. I think you're able to get that there. I mean, we got a real interesting game. I think you're just looking at maybe like one pick early. Take a look at Checkmate's Blade here. Ooh, good enough for 3.
So clean.
Because now the hard part is this bot's going to go so far back, right? You're going to be in the same position where you need 2 fights if you're Toronto. And you don't have anything to use. I mean, look, you can just play this out like a lot like the beginning of the game. Stall out some of this clock, use this grab, and put it away.
And if they want to play passively, just grab the Genji as he tries to blade your backline. Well, no blade there for Finale, but he definitely gets picked off. No opportunity to use it there. And Hotbar runs out of bubbles, runs out of life force.
Yeah, I mean, this is worst case scenario here for Toronto. You get just the pressure here from the Florida Mayhem. They don't even need this type of progress, right? They can just get off the bot if need be and seal the deal.
And that lead is just getting extended now. The Mayhem don't need any ultimates to make a difference here. Immortality field by RuPaul. Finale not healthy enough to challenge this. Surely he's going to find something with the blade. He comes up with nothing, and then they've lost Twilight to boot. The Mayhem are happy enough to give some ground for now, but you wonder if they want to press the advantage in terms of players here at some point. It's now.
Something like, yeah, they're going to play aggressive. They're going to try and play underneath the bridge here as Hydron picks up 2. Checkmate with another.
There can be no one denying that Florida Mayhem are the better team in this matchup today. They close out Colosseo with style. Someone getting hyped up in the camera as per usual. It's a great result for this Florida Mayhem. fighting all this year for recognition with a relatively untested squad, they will be in the playoffs.
And I mean, I think they're a scary team. Like, I think they take out Toronto today, and I don't even think Florida played like their best game, right? I actually think that, you know, Florida can hit a higher peak when they kind of go towards that playoff, because I still think Sojourner really good. I think Checkmate, we've seen him play so many different heroes over the season. I think this is a Florida team that could come in and surprise some teams early on in the playoffs.
And the best part about this Mayhem offering so far is that they can play that Zarya Baptiste composition really effectively. Another team that sort of does away with the Sombra, says we don't really need that. We can make it work with some fantastic Genji play. Checkmate is so frightening when that blade comes out, especially if there's no sound barrier. That was something that we had to track really closely in this matchup. That key defensive ultimate from Chorong, a player that we spent so much time talking up, and not having that available on that last fight when the Defiant are pushing for a checkpoint of their own. That's heartbreaking, it's backbreaking, and it's game-losing for that team. I mean, the Mayhem are the team that deserve to be going to the playoffs here at the top seed, of course, of these play-in teams. But for the Defiant, there's still an opportunity to make their own destiny.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Defiant, right, you're going to have to play again today to be able to get in. I think you need to take a little bit of a break, regain, right? It's not much more else you can kind of game plan for, right? You've already played against the Justice. I'm sure you've kind of looked over some footage of the Uprising at this point, knowing that there are only, 4 teams in the field here, 3 other than you. I think you just got to take a little bit of a breather, step away, delete that game from memory, because hey, you gotta win an in scenario later today.
Yeah, you have time to take a breather now, of course, as our teams in the lower bracket fight for survival. But for the Florida Mayhem, their day is done. They're ready now to set their sights on a new patch and, of course, those playoffs. Let's talk about our player of the match here, though, Matthew. Someone who, from start to finish, really impresses a lot of standout players on this Mayhem team. But for us, it's got to be it's got to be someone. This Winston play was awesome. A lovely mix-up in that first map. Nice to see it, even if you can't play it on every stage.
And I think what's so impressive about him is like just the ability to play so many different tanks at a high level, right? We saw Winston play, we know that is good. We've seen him play Reinhardt throughout the season, the Junker Queen, Zarya, right? Like, really has just about everything, under his command in terms of the tank role, and no real kind of like lack of performance or, loss of performance from tank to tank. And I think you see today, like, how good he is. Like, hey, we know what? I have to take a Zarya matchup against Hotba, who's a pretty good Zarya in his own right. And he's able to take it and go toe-to-toe and really come out on top.
Shout out to the backline here for the Mayhem as someone only 3.1 deaths per 10 as a player that generally receives quite a lot of attention from the opposition. And, of course, very charged up for much of the game. Really impressive Zarya showing. When it had to be Zarya for someone, he was able to pick up that role and absolutely not miss a beat. Fantastic stuff for the Florida Mayhem to advance here, and I can't wait to see what they're going to cook up as we head into the playoffs. Again, now we have to turn our attention towards this Defiant team later in the day. They have to bounce back from this. We know what they're capable of. We know what they did to the Justice yesterday. There's no reason why they shouldn't themselves be in playoffs too, but there's a lot more work to be done for them. That's for sure, everybody. We're going to head to a break. When we return, of course, we're going to hear from the victorious team and set our sights further on an elimination match.
Yeah, Cali, baby. Let's go, Anaheim!
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League, and by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. I'm here with the player of the match, someone from Florida Mayhem. Someone, congratulations on the win. Now, before I get into the post-match interview, Zoe really wanted to know your favorite animal. So I'm going to start with that. 서먼 선수 오늘 경기를 좀 승리 축하드리면서 저희 호스트님께서, 소희님께서 서먼 선수의 제일 최애 동물이 뭐냐 너무나도 궁금해하시기 때문에 그걸로 인터뷰를 좀 시작해보도록 하겠습니다.
저는 늑대 좋아합니다.
이유가 있나요? 특별한 좀 이유가 있나요?
저는 살짝 멋있으면서도 귀여운 살짝 동물을 좋아하는데 그게 늑대에 제일 최적화한 것 같아서 좋아하는 것 같아요.
Alright, so someone's favorite animal is wolf because he likes animals that are cool and cute at the same time, and wolf sort of fits into that category.
I learned so much
Yeah?
today, actually.
There you go. Fun fact about someone. All right. Talking about this match, you guys looked dominant throughout the whole match, but I think it was Oasis where I had my sort of question for you because other than running the, I guess, Zarya competition, you guys tried some new stuff. You guys were running the Winston in the first round and also the Ryan Rush competition in the second round as well. So what was the thought process behind that? 자, 첫 번째 질문 오늘 경기 전체적으로 봤을 때 프로가 굉장히 좋은 모습을 보여주긴 했지만은 첫 번째 맵인 오아시스에서 원래 항상 요즘 어떻게 보면 제일 좋은 모습을 보여줬던 자리아 조합을 사용하지 않고 윈스턴과 좀 이제 어떻게 보면 라인 러시 조합을 쓰셨는데 좀 이거에 대한 좀 특별한 이유가 좀 있을까요?
저희 메이엠이 지금 이 메타에 조금 자신감이 있고 그리고 누구한테도 안 질 자신이 있기 때문에 지금 플레이인에서는 그래서 저희가 굳이 이제 맞조합을 안 해도 그러니까 옛날 조합을 해도 이길 것 같다 해가지고 그냥 픽하고 살짝 상대를 좀 얕봤던 것 같아요.
Alright. The reason is because Florida Mayhem, our team right now, we are very confident in ourselves in this current meta. We're very confident that we could go far, and not only that, we could actually not lose to any team currently. So we thought going into the match, even if we use old meta competitions or different variety and not have to go with the mirror comp, we would still be able to defeat the Toronto Defiant. But obviously that wasn't the case, and I guess we were sort of overly confident and we were sort of looking down on Toronto Defiant. That is how we lost the first map. Alright, but at the end of the day, you guys did clutch out the win against Toronto Defiant, and that means you guys are going to the playoffs. We have one more team that is possibly going to the playoffs as well. Yeah, someone! I want to hear from you. Who do you think is going to go up to the playoffs with the Florida Mayhem? 자, 오늘 승리로 플로리다 팀은 이제 올라가게 되셨죠. 하지만 이제 한 자리가 더 남았습니다. 서먼 선수가 보셨을 때 이번 플로리다와 같이 이제 프로에 진출할 것 같은 팀이 있다면 어떤 팀이 있을까요?
저는 이제 저희랑 같이 올라갈 팀은 토론토 디파이언트라고 생각합니다. 그 이유는 저희가 일단 연습을 하면서도 이제 플레인 팀이랑도 많이 해보고 토론토라도 오늘 경기까지 해본 결과 솔직히 말해서 다른 두 팀은 토론토를 이길 힘이 없고 그리고 좀 더 짜임새가 훨씬 더 토론토가 좋은 것 같아요.
짜임새가 좋다고요? 잠시 뭐라고 하시죠? 죄송합니다.
그러니까 팀의 그 합이라든지 이제 팀합 같은 게 팀이 훨씬 더 좋다.
네.
그런 느낌이었습니다.
Alright. Okay, someone says that the team that will go to the playoffs along with Florida Mayhem is going to be Toronto Defiant, mainly because they've been good in practice, and also after playing the match today against the Toronto Defiant, someone believes that the other two teams remaining don't have enough power or strength to defeat the Toronto Defiant. Not only that, Toronto Defiant has way better teamwork, judging from the plays that he's seen. Alright, someone, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time. Again, and yeah, we'll see you in Anaheim. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 애나하임에서 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much to someone, and yeah, thanks for asking the animal question. That was very important to me personally.
We asked him about his favorite food before as well,
True.
which was what was it? Ramen.
It's
Korean-
called 짜파게티.
Yeah.
Is that a specific Korean type of
Spaghetti.
ramen?
It is. It
What's
is.
that?
Spaghetti. It's spaghetti, but there's something called jjajangmyeon, which is black bean noodle. Mix it together. It's
I didn't know this
spaghetti.
existed. I've learned so much today.
I know, right?
You know what?
It's
For
a
Anaheim,
nice
I'll
thing.
bring you guys some.
We'll eat some with someone.
Yeah,
Eat some with
content
someone.
right there.
Content right there.
Ah.
Content.
Boom.
Right, that's what the people out there want. So we're gonna deliver. Don't
And
worry
if you
about
don't
it.
want that, too bad.
That's, we make the content, so that's shame on you. Anyway, Florida did it. Florida are going to Anaheim. Let's go.
Checkmate pose.
Yeah, checkmate pose or a lemur, whatever. Either way, we do want to break down the match because Florida Mayhem, we were a little worried there at the very beginning because they opted out of the Zarya, but then they reconsidered their strength and went back for it.
Yeah, they had us in the first half, I'm not going to lie. It was like one of those moments of Florida Mayhem got this in the bag, and then they rolled out on like Reinhardt. I'm like, no, not like this. And, you know, we were a little worried. We were pretty sure if they just took that toe-to-toe mirror with the Zarya, that they would come out on top, and that was how it played out as soon as the Florida Mayhem went back into that mirror matchup. Just strategically, they were better. I think the way that someone was maneuvering around the map, getting more value from the Graviton Surges, just really helped them get to that value. Like Hopper throwing too many Graviton Surges like this, where it was too easy for RuPaul to be able to use the lamp in a way that their, Toronto Defiant could not punish in the Graviton Surge. So big props to Florida Mayhem. They look to be in great form. I'm curious to see how they are going to perform in the playoffs in Anaheim now they've qualified once the meta is shifted up.
Yeah, there's no room for error if you play the Florida Mayhem. You can really tell by the way they utilize their ultimates, their positioning, that they're a really well-coached team. Like, they've done the VOD reviews, they've done the homework, they know what ultimates to use at what point to gain this advantage. And it felt like many times throughout the series that someone came up clutch with a Graviton Surge. Animo always had the sound barrier on time. Then Hydron is like this ace up your sleeve that just like pops off and like finds picks all the time. So Florida Mayhem, I think they're going to punish a lot of playoff teams who aren't necessarily playing as clean. Well, Florida Mayhem, they know what they're doing, so you gotta watch out.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the bracket once again to see where we're currently at on our last day here of the play-ins. As we just said, the Mayhem now punched their tickets to the playoffs in Anaheim. Toronto Defiant might have lost their first match, but they will get a second chance. They will go up against the winner of our next match. That took me somewhere on a journey. I want to know from you guys, though, looking at what Toronto Defiant showed us just now, what do you want to see different? Like, is there anything particular you feel like if they clean this up, then the next match should be, quote unquote, maybe easier for them?
It was interesting hearing from someone because he said, from what I've seen, I trust him way more than I trust myself. From what I've seen, Toronto Defiant is the most well-rounded in this current meta, and I would agree with that from what we saw from both Washington and Boston yesterday. So if they can sort of fill in that sort of Hopper issue with the Zarya, the Graviton Surges being a little out of position, I think they are still the favorites to go through with Florida Mayhem right now.
I will say though, it's quite interesting because we have the Boston Uprising and the Washington Justice taking each other on. I think it's likely that Washington perhaps will advance from that series, and then you're not getting the same Zarya versus Zarya, like Sojun Genji versus Sojun Genji. Then you're going back to like the Tracer and Sombra territory perhaps, so like it's not going to be that mirror match we just saw between two good teams. Maybe Boston Uprising comes out on top, but we might look at a match where we're not going to see the same kind of tactics play out, and it's going to be a different match.